Ready or not, here we go. Hi, if you've never met me before, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And this is a second show that I do every week. I have a Monday to Friday show. What's My Good Cheer? It is heavy topics on the norm, right? I work in emotions, and it's important that we connect in a way where we can stay on top of things. And if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the world, and I've been trying not to, but as things come across my path, this is what comes across my path. And being somebody who moves with the information that does come across my path, I have to use that curious mind to see, right, if there's something that needs that needs my attention or not. And usually I feel that's all it gets is my attention. But I think we can make a lot of movement just by paying attention and letting people know that we are paying attention. Hello, Owen. Hello, Owen. How's your day going? Oh my goodness. It's still cold here in Manitoba. I was looking at the Weather Channel. It looks like we might hit the pluses next weekend. That would be absolutely fantastic. Usually in March, we have a few really, really nice days, nice enough that it actually makes the snow disappear. I don't know if we had a ton of snow this year. I would say we had about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet, that stayed on the ground. But who's to say, right? We're still going to get some snow this month for sure. It's still going to be cold, but all it takes is to get that snow gone in just a few days of warm temperatures. And that would be enough to give it a big melt. And that would do so much for our emotional well being, our mental well being, in having that idea and that notion that spring is right around the corner. Oh, they're melting away. Oh, good. How was that storm? Is that the same snow from last weekend, Owen, that you had? Hello, Kathy. Hello, Kathy. Yeah, that it is winter, and I think we really do need a little bit of cheering up. I love winter for myself. I am a fan of the cold weather, and in saying that, I'm just gonna open up just my window just a touch more. I just got out of the shower, so I'm trying to let my hair dry a little bit before I tie it up. I've got my hair squeegee here, and it's just if I have to go out tomorrow, it would be nice not to have kinks in the hair from a ponytail. So if I had 15 more minutes, my hair should be dry enough to stick it up. Hello, Andrew. Oh my goodness, Andrew, I was thinking of you today, Andrew. Look what I'm reading. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. In keeping myself preoccupied by other things than what's going on in the world, we know that, right, the world is in a little bit of a mix right now, and it's meant to catch our attention, to get our focus, and get that energy that we have and disperse it to other places, whether it's in our opinions or in our worry and stresses, in that heartfelt. And that's a good thing that our heart can go places, but lots of times we're not in a position to divvy out, right? I was actually talking about this on Friday about giving from the froth, giving the overflow from our cups. And lots of times, right, when we're a little bit worried for ourselves or our families, when we've got problems going on, that, right, we just don't have enough to, right, send it other places, right? We can send a little bit of good cheer where we can, but not that intent focus. I think we're in a time right now where we should be taking care of ourselves, and in saying that, I'm going to take my vitamins and take care of myself that way. I have been paying attention to my physical well-being, but I notice that, right, sometimes that emotional well-being takes a little bit of a kicking too, and that's because of our hearts, because of that well-being, that we're looking out for other people. Cindy, I hope you're enjoying. You know what? I'm going to ask you a question. I'm in the 5th chapter of this book, Andrew, and the main character, what's his name again? Waterfield? I have not figured out whether or not he's a good character or a bad character, right? He seems like a little rascal in the moment. But I understand he's the main character of the novel. But it would be interesting to know if he's gonna turn out in the end to be a, well, I guess you don't want to tell me the ending of it, but I really love the landscapes. I love how they set up the household. I love how they character build on each one of the characters in the book. And I was only going to start it off. I says, okay, I'm going to just read one chapter every day, right? I'm not a big reader. I'm not. But I have to preoccupy myself. And I thought, while I was cleaning this shelf up behind me, it was pretty dusty. So I pulled everything off, and then I was putting everything back together, and I said, you know what? It'd be a good idea if I could just sit down and read a chapter every day. And I know if the novel catches my attention, like if I get involved in it, then it will be like everything gets shut down, and I'll go prop some pillows up in my bed, and I'll sit in my bed, and I'll read the book. But also I got to keep into mind that my glasses are not the best at the moment, and in that attitude about taking care of my own well-being, I don't want to strain my eyes, right? Put my eyes in a worse situation than they already are. Only a couple of weeks, you guys. I'm making my appointment this week for my eye exam. I'm going to get a new pair of glasses and possibly get back into contact lenses. That would be absolutely fantastic, especially for my live shows and stuff, because the glare is not making me happy. I'm going to actually see if I can get some actual extra light reflective coatings on my new glasses. It might cost me a little bit extra, but it might be a good investment for me. This is like the third fire truck that I've heard in like the past 20 minutes, you guys. I was going to come in live, and just as I was about to hit that live button, the fire truck started going off. So I waited a couple of seconds, sent them out my good cheer, and then I hit the live. But how's everybody doing tonight? Hello, Tammy. Your cell phone went dead out of nowhere, and I have 12% battery right now. But thank God I'm here on Cindy's Prairie Dodgers channel for her live chat. Oh my goodness. Do you have Wi-Fi at the very least, Tammy? That I would hate to think that you're using your data on your phone to, right? You spend a lot of time in my content. And oh my goodness, those videos, you watch those on your phone too? Tammy? Oh my goodness. I'm not somebody, I don't like to watch videos on my phone. Sometimes the little shorts, but I couldn't watch a video on my live phone, and not because I don't have the data. I have unlimited data, and I use very little of my data because I also have my main line, right? My landline for my internet. So I usually have Wi-Fi, and so I use very little data on that. I couldn't imagine if I, right, had to take in the content that I do and use up the data that I do have, even though it's unlimited. I think it's only unlimited in 5G to a certain point, and then it drops after you hit a certain amount. They still call it unlimited data, but there's a lot of buffering and going slow and stuff. But oh my goodness, using your phone to watch my live, that's pretty incredible. Anybody else out there watch my lives on their phones? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm somebody who just loves the big screens, right? I'm using a smart TV as my monitor for my desktop, just because I like a big screen. Now I'm not like right close to it. I'm about 2.5 feet away from the big screen. And it just came into my mind, my mother screaming at me when we'd lay in front of the TV, right? And we had those great big old TVs with the channel. And we always wanted to be close so we didn't have to get up so we could change the channel on the TV. And my mother would always be screaming at us, "Get away from the TV. You're going to ruin your eyes," right? TV was new, right? That was a new innovation at that time. They didn't have any data on how that would affect the kids' eyes. And in the end, I think, it was a good thing to keep the kids away from the TVs. I remember when the microwaves came out, and they said, "Stay away from the microwaves when the microwaves are on because you're going to get zapped." Oh my goodness, when the microwaves first came out, that was brand new innovation. And I think when I first moved out, I didn't even have a new microwave. I had like one of those very first microwaves that were ever made, and it worked fantastic. But I was a little bit nervous of it because it was just so old. It was like one of the very first microwaves ever made, but it lasted me right to the very end, right? Like for years and years, at least 10 years, that microwave lasted. And it was huge. It was as big as an oven. It was huge. I could put a turkey in there and cook a turkey if I wanted to. Now they make microwaves and they're just like little toaster ovens almost, right? Okay, let me just come in here and see what's going on. Oh, it's so nice to see everybody here tonight. Oh my goodness. How has everybody's week been going? I hope everybody's week has been going really good. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that's trying to get our attention. And like I said, I've been trying to avoid, right, what's going on by entertaining myself and taking care of myself. And it's not like I'm totally blank as to what's going on. But like I said, as it comes across my path, it gets a little bit of my attention. But if it makes me feel bad, if it draws me in, especially, we get involved personally in things where we don't get to have a say, right? Where we get no say in it, and all it is being glued to the hairy scary, right? And we can send the prayers out there, but you can do that without having headline news on, right? They're doing some heavy stuff going on from what I hear, but I haven't watched any news broadcasts at all. Just in some of the thought leaders out there, um, Valuetainment. I don't know if anybody out there watches him. I don't watch a lot of his content. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. Is that what you call them? Like the stirring of the pot kind of thing. But he's a smart man, and because he comes from that side of the world, like he actually has personal experience in what's going on this week. And so I was looking at his perspective, and he doesn't seem to be too worried about it. He seems kind of feeling okay. He's kind of like saying it's about time, right? So I don't know what to think about it. Like I said, I am not an expert in that. But also, there was another gentleman. Oh, what's his name? Chase. Oh, he's a very smart man, but he's another one of those gentlemen. He's I don't know if he was worked for the CIA or something, but it's a lot of conspiracy. And because he is an expert in his field, and because he had something to say about it, I thought, well, it came across my path, right? So we'll go in and listen to what he had to say. And again, he seemed to be okay with what's going, but also at the same time he was given his perspective, to make it so we understood that it could go any way. Like, it could go anyway, so why are we worrying about it? It's like, let the professionals handle it, let the experts handle it, and stay out of that, right? It's not coffee shop talk. It's right. And it could easily be there. And then having a couch opinion, because that's what it is, having an opinion, right? It's like you watching a hockey game and you have your favorite hockey player and you go off about what an idiot player somebody is, a terrible, terrible teammate and stuff. And it's only because you have loyalties to somebody else, right? So yeah, that was kind of my day. I was kind of preoccupying myself, but yeah, Andrew sent me this book. Oh my goodness, a few years ago, right? I'm not a big reader, but I kept it right there with the intent of reading it. And it's actually an old library book. I feel like a little bit of a thief having it. It's it's discontinued. It's from Danville, Indiana, Danville Public Library. Yeah, so but it's been discontinued. I guess library handed it in. Maybe they had another copy, or sometimes things go out of date, and they right. And it's kind of funny because this book was originally written in the late 20s, but this one is from the 1947 or something like that. It's a reprint of this book, but it'd be odd that they would, right, say, okay, we need to discontinue, we need to donate this out there, right? Okay, I'm just gonna tie up my hair now. I think it's dry enough. And if it isn't, we'll just wear a ponytail tomorrow, right? It's just that if I tie it when it's got a kink in it because it's curly, it'll be pretty noticeable. So I usually let my hair dry before I tie it up. Okay, you guys, let's have a topic of discussion tonight. Does somebody have any idea of a topic of discussion except for what's going on in the world, right? Did I write anything here? I got a couple of references to watch some content from some people that I've never heard before. So I thought I would do some research on them. I do a lot of Googling. If I don't understand a word, or if I don't understand a person, I don't understand where a country is. Actually, I was trying to figure out what country Jamaica was from, like if it was Africa, but it's actually North American. The Caribbean is actually from North America. Not, yeah, North America. No, not North American. from America. Maybe it could have been South America, from the islands anyway. But I honestly thought that Jamaica was part of Africa, and so I had to do a little bit of googling on that. Hello, Earl. Oh, Earl made it in tonight too. Fantastic. You guys. So Owen says that he's just melting now from that storm that he had last week going on. I was telling Owen too while we were waiting for people to roll in that here in Winnipeg, we are still cold. Like we are still very, very cold. And I said, I love winter, but there's a point when it comes to winter where kind of had enough. I'm ready. I'm ready for spring. And because we are in that mix right now, not meaning to go back into it, but because we're in that mix, I think it would be very heartwarming. It would be very good for us emotionally and mentally if we started having some nice weather, right? A couple of really nice days where things start melting. I don't mind that it's cold, right? When it comes to March, usually the snow melts by middle of the month. The snow is gone, but it's still very, very cold. But I don't mind. I don't mind the cold, right? But that snow gets to be too much come the end of winter. We are in the end of winter now. I came up with an idea, you guys. I came up with an idea. I was going to put some money away, but I don't handle money very well. I spend money like nothing, right? Like nothing. But I have to learn how to handle money. As fast as money comes in, it's usually as fast as money goes out. And I thought, well, if I have that trait anyway, why don't I hold on to my own money rather than give it to my sister to hold on to? Is normally what I would do is hold on to this for me until I'm ready to, right, pay for my camping spots or put the money down on my car rental or something. That I use that money to invest in stock for myself, right? I'm partnered up with my sister, but she's out there, she's buying stock like a mad woman, and she brings it to me and she gives me 20% of whatever I sell it for, right? But if I go off and I buy stock, right? Then 100% of it would be me or would be mine. And I know my collectibles. I know where I'm proficient and expert, maybe a little bit in some of these vintage and antique items. She's an expert when it comes to jewelry. Jewelry doesn't do anything for me. She loves the sparkly. She likes the rings and the necklaces. Right, for me, right? If I have a pair of earrings, I'm wearing little heart earrings today. If I'm wearing jewelry, usually all I'm wearing is an always always is all I'm wearing is earrings. I'm not big on sparkly when it comes to the jewelry, right? She's the expert in that. But I do love pottery. I love the collectibles going back, oh my goodness, as far back as you can imagine, antiques and collectibles. I like that. The household items. I really like that. I like furniture too, especially furniture from the 1970s. And if I played my cards right and I hit up a few stores in a day, then I could have all of that furniture delivered at one price. And furniture sells really, really well online. And so I thought possibly, right, that Cindy could maybe save some money that way, right? We'll just invest with the little bit that I've got to put away now, and we'll just keep adding to that pot and possibly, right? possibly get myself at least a little beater to take on my trip this September. I would feel so good. And at the same time, right, I know if I apply myself, because I'm always moving forward, I'm always, right, trying to better myself in different ways, that if I could teach myself to save, right? And still enjoy my life, not saying no to the things that I want, be a little bit difficult, right? I bought a few clothes last week, but I'll just slow down, and I have lots of nice clothes. And it would give me an opportunity too to do a little bit more donating, because when you donate, they give you a coupon for 20% off, but at the same time, I can clear my closets. I can do some kindnesses for right. I've got nice clothes, so somebody would appreciate the clothes that I donate. And then also the thrift stores that I shop in, because I'm looking for scores and I'm scoring. Remember what I did with that bonsai pot, right? I bought it for $6.99. I got it listed right now for $1,000. So we'll see if we get a bite on that. I'm not in a rush to sell it, but I can join some Facebook groups that work with bonsais, and there's lots of them out there, and I'm sure I could sell that pot right away to somebody who belongs to one of those bonsai groups. So this was the idea that I came at. It's an idea, right? What's most important is that I add to the pot, that I don't put myself in a deficit in that. And it is practice, and because I've never truly been a saver for anything except for my September trips in my entire life. I've never been a saver. I've always lived for the moment. And that was something that we were talking about earlier in the week. And what's my good cheer, right? That my dad lived that way because he had the congenital heart disease, that he always lived for the moment, right? He always lived for the good times and the experiences and the relationships and the landscapes and the fun, right? And he filled his life up the very best that he could, and he did a really good job. But with him doing that, I kind of emulated that. And right, and he did it because he had the congenital heart disease, and I didn't take that into consideration. All I thought is, I'm going to live my best life, right? I make the best life for myself as I possibly could. And I'm not quite sure if it was very beneficial to me. Like I said, I never learned to save money in my entire life. Never, right? And just in the practicing in the past half a dozen years or so, in these September trips, that, I've learned that I have to put away. If I don't put away, then I don't get to go on this trip. And because that's a big part of my brand, I explore the inside, but I explore the outside too. And I have to remember, not being able to explore the outside would affect me on the inside, right? So exploring the inside would be really devastating for me if I failed myself in not being able to do my trip in September. I'm right. The plan is to do 10 provincial parks this year. Every park I'm staying in for 2 days. One park I'm only staying in for one day, only because it's close to the amethyst mine, because last year I didn't get to go to dig for amethyst. And so this year I says I want to go digging for amethyst. And so I booked an extra day in one of the parks that was close by. And I thought it would also be good for me, because then I'd be able to stock supplies at the same time, because there's a city, a fairly large city, Thunder Bay is in that area. So at the same time of going amethyst, digging for amethyst, I'll be able to also restock my supplies because I don't think I want to get too far ahead of the game because last year and the year before and the year before that I threw out so much, right? That my food spoiled, and because I'm a fussy eater, especially when it comes to meat, and I don't want to get sick, that you know, after a couple of days, that meat had to be thrown out, and that's a real waste. That's a waste financially, and I was brought up with that idea. Think of the kids in Africa who don't get any meals, right? Eat your dinner. Eat your dinner. So I have that in mind too, and it's really hard for me to right. And also mentally I beat myself up because I go, oh my goodness, that money could have gone towards gas, or that money could have gone towards an extra night in a camp spot, or an extra right day in renting the vehicle. So again, taking care of myself emotionally, it's super, super important. So this is the idea that came to my mind, especially with spring happening. And also with that idea that I have kind of decided that, I am not working for the man, right? And so I would like to give it a real true shot at working for myself. And you never know, right? If I can come up with a score once a month, right? If I could, and I would always, whatever I purchased in selling, I would have to at least triple my money to make it worthwhile. So if I bought something for $10, it would have to be, I would want $40 actually. So triple. I want triple what I put in. So I want my cost back plus three times as much as the item that I paid for. I broke up my earring collection this week. That was the big thing for me because I had hundreds and hundreds of earrings. I like my earrings. So I kept my favorites, and in keeping my favorites, I still have about 60. I put out 50 of them, 42 pairs of earrings. I put them up for sale for $50. I've been getting lots of inquiries. Nobody's bit yet, but as soon as spring happens, those earrings will be gone because they're pretty nice earrings. And at the same time, that was kind of like saving money because I paid what, 50 cents, 70 cents for every single one of those pairs. And if I'm going to put them up for $50, I'm still making a profit, but I got a lot of joy out of those earrings. I wear earrings almost every day. I wear earrings, and I'm usually match them to whatever I'm wearing. Like today I'm wearing a pair of khaki colored hearts here to go with my khaki colored hoodie. And it's about the comfort today. I'm just wanting to make myself comfortable. Ooh, today, you guys, I had somebody try to open up my door today. They actually used the key in my door. I don't know if they found the wrong apartment. Sometimes there's like 15 floors in this building that I live in, that possibly they were on the wrong floor and didn't look at the apartment number, just thought it was their apartment. But you never know if they have a, what do you call them, skeleton keys, not skeleton, universal key, where you can get into all the apartments. First thought was like, oh my goodness, did they break into the maintenance man's apartment and grab the master keys, that's what you call them, to open up the apartment? But they couldn't get in. And then I just walked up to my door and I just banged on my door a few times. I didn't hear anybody scurry away or anything. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe they tried my door and then recognized, oh my goodness, this isn't my apartment, and then just walked back to the elevator. But I wasn't going to open my door. I'm going to play it a little bit safe because I've had three experiences with people trying to either get into my apartment or see what's going on in my apartment. So it makes me a little bit nervous in that. Yeah, well, I don't know if I was scared. I've got some boys around me, right, and they watch over me pretty good. And I'm a pretty good screamer. All I would take, and I right, I got my bear spray right there too, and my fillet of fish knife. I'm pretty set up, like I'm not over cautious in any way, but to have that happen 3 times in a span of a week and a half, that is kind of strange. The first time it happened, there was a knock at my door. I opened up my door and there was a lady there, and she stepped forward and she scoped out my apartment. Like, you could just tell she was scoping out my apartment. And I said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And she goes, "Oh, I think I got the wrong apartment." And she wandered off, right? Wasn't wearing a coat or anything, so it wasn't like she was leaving the building. It's like minus 40 below outside. And then earlier, or about a few days after that, I came up from doing my laundry, and somebody had unscrewed the peephole on my door. And I came upstairs from grabbing my laundry, and I was just real quick, right? Ran down there, grabbed my stuff, and when I got off the elevator, there was this guy, and he had his hood like this, you guys. He had his hood, and he was standing. He scared me a little bit because I didn't expect anybody there. He had his hood over like this and his head down, and he goes, "Excuse me," and he gets on the elevator, and then I got off, and I didn't think anything of it except to say, "Ooh, that was a little odd," right? And then I came to my apartment door and I was opening up the door, and I could see, right? Being hyper vigilant, nothing ever gets past me. I noticed it right away because he didn't have time to screw it back in, right? He just put back and just hoped I didn't notice. But of course I noticed. Immediately I know who's been playing with my door. I didn't even know people's unscrewed from doors. So that made me a little bit nervous. So I blocked it. There's no way, right? Because when you take the peephole off and look in, you can see everything. It's just like a hole, right? You could just see right into the apartment. He wasn't trying to get into my apartment. It'd be kind of hard for him because there's steel doors, right? But what if I didn't lock my door when I ran downstairs to get the laundry, right? I was only going to be gone a minute, right? And there have been times when I haven't locked my door. And I never take my phone with me when I go to the laundry room, right? So somebody could have just come in, taken my phone, taken my laptop, taken my PC. Then what would have I done, right? So I think that's what put me on the edge a little bit, right? Because and then today I was sitting here and somebody's getting in my door and coming in my door, and the caretaker's the only one who's got a key for my door. Why is somebody coming to my door? And then it stopped, and I walked up, and I couldn't hear anything, so I banged on my door from the inside really loud, and I didn't hear anybody scurry down the hallway or anything. That's why I'm kind of thinking somebody just got off at the wrong floor and just right thought that that was their apartment. So it was probably one of the 15 floors that are right above me. Possibility, but at the same time, kind of curious that it happened 3 times in a span of a week and a half. Yeah, so it made me a little bit nervous in that, right? Okay. Just come here and see the comments going on. We are very cold in the Great Lakes state of Michigan. We got more snow and ice. More snow and ice. That's fairly a warm area, too. I didn't really think that you guys got that much snow, but it has been a cold winter, hasn't it? Yeah, it has been a cold winter, I think, for all of North America. It was kind of strange because we've had such nice winters the past 3 years. Like we've had days where there wasn't even any snow on the ground, like in December and in January. And that is an absolute rarity. I think even last year I says, I've never known a winter like this. In all the years that I've been here, I never knew a winter like this, right? Um, Earl, I'm your dream man. Okay. I think that we moved the clocks forward this coming Saturday. Oh, well, isn't that a good feeling, you guys? That's a good sign for spring. Thank you for mentioning that, Andrew. Like anything to help us cheer up and make us feel like spring is right around the corner. Oh my goodness. I never even thought of that. Next Saturday, and it's moving forward. I think we moved the clocks forward. So 1 hour, 1 hour ahead. I just let my PC cell phone handle the time change. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a wall clock too. And I got a stove clock. So I've got to set those. And and it's not a big deal when you are on your own and you're not working, but when you're working and you use your wall clock all the time to say, oh, time to leave for work. Right? I would worry that I was late for work or not make it to work at all. Oh my goodness. um yes, you are right, Andrew, with the spring daylight time changing next weekend. And Earl, you are right too. uh, uh, Earl, I mean, you are right with the time changing. Thanks, Tammy. And Earl says, and everything else. He got some new videos out, gang. I've got some new videos out, gang. Oh my goodness. Um, you're welcome to leave your link to your channel if you want, Earl, that we can go check out your videos if you want. We don't have a problem with that at all. Today's video shows my house and cars. Oh, cars as in plural. Lucky you. uh, uh, oh, that makes it easy just by using your name. Um, everybody's talking about Earl's channel. I have every kind of video. That's me too, right? All different kinds of videos, but I keep it within the realm of the inside and the outside, right? Explore the inside and explore, and that keeps me busy. Yeah. Uh Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate that. But no, it wasn't scary. Like I said, I've got a couple of really nice guys who live in apartments next to me, and I know if I screamed or I yelled, they would come to my rescue for sure. They're really nice. I don't know them but too well, but I have stopped and had small chit chats with them. They're very kind. They're very nice. Um Yeah, I don't think I'm getting married again there, Earl. Uh, you're Andrew's a career bachelor. Yeah, very surprising, Andrew, that you never got married. You're such I've known you for a lot of years. I think you would probably be a good catch for somebody. But some of us we just prefer our own company, eh? And sometimes it's just easier that way. We do our best to keep that stress and that worry, right? That hairy, scary out of our lives. And it makes things right. There are gifts in that, right? There are difficulties at the same time. Nobody to help you with the bills. You got to take care of the roof over your head by yourself, right? But at the same time, you don't have the extra expenses of school supplies and kids, and they're all getting born, and they all want their Google Pixels right off the hop, right? And those phones are not cheap. So also being that person, I think probably that life that I had, right? In living the life that I wanted, being, I'm not going to say frivolous in that, but in creating the best life for myself, I did live for the moment. I've always lived for the moment. And I think, in that beneficial and in understanding our limitations and where we get things right, but also where we get things wrong. I would hate to think, I don't know if it would have been such a bad thing, to pass that on to your kids, to learn how to live for themselves, right? To enjoy their lives. I don't think probably to the extent that I did. Cuz I really did. I didn't want to spend my life, being highly sensitive and being empathic. We always find ourselves in those situations in jobs where, right, we're dictated to, and because our emotions surface so easily that it's easy for us to be triggered in that. I very rarely would I find jobs that I absolutely loved, right? That I was happy to have. Usually I was having jobs that were just there to put the roof over my head. I would do my job, and then at the end of the week, right? That time was for me, but it never seemed to be enough time, especially when you work 5 days a week, to have 2 days at the end of the week for yourself, which is one day where you just need to regroup, right? To rest and flake out. And then the next day was to like get everything sorted out because you're going back to work for another week. That's not to say that I didn't have jobs that I love. And I think that's probably why I got into hospitality, because hospitality was so much fun, right? Like getting to know people and making your coworkers and your customers your friends, and to be able to have that storytelling with each other and get to feel like you were part of their lives, and that they were a part of your life, that it made it so that at the end of my work week, I actually felt like I had a social week because my week was so much fun, especially when I was working at the bars and the nightclubs. It was so much fun. Every night was fun, and I was getting paid well to have fun. But those jobs, right? I didn't find those jobs until, oh my goodness, my late 20s, when I happened on to those jobs. I've always worked in restaurants, and I still found that fun when it came to my coworkers and having that fast pace. That was another thing. I really loved that running, that moving fast. I really like the problem solving because people don't recognize how hard servers and cooks work, because as a customer, and you guys as customers, you guys know if your meal isn't right, if your steak isn't done the way you want it, somebody's going to hear about it, right? And hopefully it lands on a sympathetic ear, which it usually did with me, right? I And again, having the tip depend on that good service and that good meal. uh it was a lot of problem solving lots of times because we can't always get it right, especially, When I would do the night shifts sometimes. I worked in this one restaurant and I'd work the night shift. I was the night supervisor, but most of the time I'd have to go onto the floor during when the bars closed, and because the place would just get packed. And so we all had to like do multiple positions in the restaurant, and I would be in the back of the kitchen helping to cook. I would be expediting food to the front. I would be hosting and setting people at tables. I would be cleaning tables when people would leave. I would be serving the customers too. And I would do the cash. And at the same time, I'd be trying to get next week's schedule because you have to work with your staff at the same time too. So when you're working with them, they're all going, "Oh, Cindy, can I have next Saturday off? Can I have next Thursday?" And I'd be like working the schedule at the same time. And you had to keep your staff happy. And that was one thing I was really good at, is because when you spend time with with your staff, they get to appreciate you, and you get to know what they need, what will keep them happy, make it so that they want to stay, because you invest in your staff and you train your staff, but you don't want to invest in your staff and train your staff, let them make mistakes with the customers and deal with the complaints of the customers in that process, because when you're training, there's always mistakes, there's always failures. It takes time to learn to do a job really well and to learn to appreciate that it's actually a privilege to have a position of possibly a server, right? The cooks got tips too, but they only got a cut of, they didn't make even a fraction as much as the servers did, right? But it was really important to keep the staff happy, and the owner appreciated the job that I did, and I did the schedules, because whenever, right, the general manager would do the schedules, like people would never show up. We were always short staffed. And not only that, we were always, because when you have those problems and you are short staffed, you're putting the extra work on the staff, right? And so they get fed up too, and then they'll take off and you lose good staff. So it's important to work the schedules to keep them happy. And when you keep them happy, when those problems did show up and say, "Oh my goodness, right? Joe's not coming in tonight. Jane, can you pick up an extra shift for us?" And because they know that you'll work the schedule for them, right? If they have a wedding or they have a date coming up or they want to go on a trip, that they know that you'll work the schedule for them and they won't get fired for taking time off, that they work extra hard for you. They become dependable, and then the owner is happy because there's no mistakes, no free meals going to the tables and stuff, that you have an opportunity to really show yourself well, show the staff well, show the restaurant well, and build the customers, build your clientele. I had people who would come for dinner numerous times a week because their service was so meticulous. The food was so good. They had their favorite waitresses and their favorite staff. And then they would always have Cindy standing over them telling stories and listening to their stories and stuff. And there were such great stories. Oh my goodness. I met such amazing, amazing, amazing people, whether it was staff or whether it was my customers, right? I really enjoyed working in restaurants. But when I got into bars and nightclubs and saw how easy the money was and how much fun it was. And then of course, I met my husband at the bar too. So and all my best friends, we all hung out there whether I was working or not. It was our fun spot. It was our fun spot, right? That yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But those jobs were few and far between, and most of my jobs I didn't care for, right? Those jobs that really broke me down, or I didn't get a say as to who I was going to work with. And that was the best part about being supervisor or manager, right? Which was the first thing that I would try to do as soon as I got into job. I would just like be super duper at whatever I did just to make it up that line of seniority, so that I didn't have to answer to somebody who had a different idea than I did, right? It was my own sense of control, right? And at that time, I didn't have the lessons that I have now. I didn't understand that I only had control over my own actions, my own thoughts, and my own emotions. I just had control over everything. And you can imagine just the way I juggled and multitasked and cross trained myself, right? To make myself indispensable for a really crappy job that I didn't like, that I would actually go home after my shift and bawl my eyes out, right? Oh, there's my sister. My sister. Oh my goodness. She's liking some of the jewelry and stuff that I listed. I'm just gonna turn that down. She always does that. And we had this conversation earlier in the week, not to bother me on Sunday nights when I'm doing my live shows, but I guess she forgot. Or she just her way of saying hi. Yeah, she's just liking all the jewelry posts that I listed. It's all her jewelry, right? She gave me a bunch of jewelry to list. I haven't had a lot of sales. I was getting like 10,000 views every single, oh no, not every single day. Every 7 days, I would have over 10,000 views on my post, but I haven't listed anything this week, and my views have dropped down to 5,000 views. It's still a lot. It's still a lot of views. That's right. It's still almost like 1,000 views a day that I get on my items. And it only takes one person to say, I'll take that, right? I had a bite today. I have a 4,000, you can see a little bit. This chair right here is a very famous chair, and I can't remember. It starts with an S. It's an executive chair from Switzerland or something. It's worth between $2,000 and $4,000, but it's only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. When I first listed it, I listed it for $450, which I thought was a great deal. And I listed that, like 6 months ago, I listed it. And because it's reupholstered, right? Somebody reupholstered it. I don't know if it has the original fabric underneath, but it's been reupholstered. That again, it's only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. I just knocked the price down, I think, to $100 for this chair. And like I said, whoever buys it is going to get such a score, right? And especially if the original fabric, I never took the fabric off. You have to take all the legs off and unscrew everything underneath to see what the fabric looks like underneath. But it feels like possibly the original fabric might still be on it, which means this chair for sure is a score. But it blew me away when I did the research on this chair to see how much it was worth, and just to discover that these chairs sell for between $2,000 and $4,000, considering the condition of it. And this chair was actually supposed to go into an auction window in the store that I worked at. But because you can see everything, I like the creams and I like the whites in my house because I'm so eclectic. There's so many other colors going on that I like all my furnishings to be white or off white. So this little chair was just perfect for my living room. So I bought it. But then when I decided, well, it's time to sell some stuff. My house is just getting so cluttered. And because I didn't use it, I wouldn't even let anybody sit on it. As soon as I found out how much the chair was worth, I decided that I would sell it. it came onto the floor, and it was only priced at $15. I guess my manager didn't do the research on it when downtown, because when they do auction windows, they send some nice things to each of the stores so that they can auction them off. But I guess she didn't do the research on it, and because she recognized that somebody had reupholstered it, that she thought it wasn't good enough for the window. So when I saw it on the floor, it was just perfect for my living room. So I bought it for $15 plus a little staff discount. I got it for like $10. And I didn't research it. I just liked it because of the color and the style of it. I like the 1970s kind of look, and it kind of suited my living room. So I bought it, and it wasn't until I decided I was going to sell some things, and I was going to sell that I did the research on it. And right, it had already been long gone from the job. Otherwise, I would have given it back to the store and said, "Hey, put this in your auction window. You might get a few dollars for it, but if I can't get $100 for it, then." But what I was going to say is today somebody gave me a little bit of an offer on the chair, and I accepted it. But he hasn't gotten back to me yet on it. And if he gets back to me, he's going to get such a score on that chair, right? I can't take it with me, right? Eventually all my goodies have to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? With my big, right, bear stat pictures here, my tree pictures. Like these are things that I'm going to have a hard time parting with. My crystals, right? These things will have to move along, and I don't hold on to things. But I noticed when I was cleaning my shelves today, I was starting to put some things away, and I was, oh, I don't know. Right? I just put everything right. I just dusted everything, and then I just put it back to the way it was. But I was going to take things apart and rearrange it a little bit and try and make it less cluttered. But yeah, it is what it is, right? It makes me happy. It makes me happy. It can stick around. Um okay. Earl's retired. Well, next year, or not next year, this year, I'll officially be retired. And I thought because my birthday isn't till the middle of October, I thought that I wouldn't be able to claim my what do you call that, seniors on my income tax return, because they get a little bit extra that I'm actually going to get to be able to uh, do my income tax return and be able to claim myself at my retirement age, because as long as you turn 65 before December 31st, which is going to be the case for me because it's October 22nd, will be my 65th, 65 years old, you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm getting there. I don't feel like it in any way. But remember what I said, that there were little things that I got to appreciate in living the life for myself, living life to the fullest, is the fact that I don't feel my age because I don't have kids to reflect it in me, like my nephew just turned 30 years old. My nephew. I thought he was still in his early 20s, to tell you the truth. I don't keep dates or anything like this for my families. Right? I really have to give it some thought when it comes to my sister's birthdays. How old are they? Right? I still have one more sister in her 50s, but we're all going to make it into our 60s like really, really soon. And I think it's this year or next year we will all be in our 60s, which is pretty incredible, especially for my family, because in my family, that heart disease and the diabetes and was arthritis, like these things took our members of our family down. My aunts and uncles, they were in their 40s when they passed away. My dad was 47 years old when he passed away. We don't normally, right? But this is innovation. This is, right? Like, especially like my sister had the same heart condition as my dad did. And when my dad had the bypass, he didn't make it through, right? But my sister did, right? And she had a triple bypass. My dad just had one bypass in his neck. They had to clear the arteries out in his neck, right? But the surgery was too much because you have to take a lot of blood thinners and stuff, and it was just too much for his heart. But yeah, so this is going to be the first generations for how many? Maybe ever, right? And the expanse of life have actually been extended, right? We have a 77 years is the average lifespan of humans in North America right now. And there was a time where life expectancy, and it wasn't too long ago, I think it was like in the 1600s, it was like in the 40s, and you were considered like a super old person, right? That you could have passed away. They're even talking about pushing the retirement age. That's my sister, pushing the retirement age up, so I thought, oh my goodness, right? Maybe I won't get my pension this year, right? And yeah, I got my notice already, so I'm in. I'm happy. I'm happy I'm in. And I think that will be a big relief for me too, to not have those financial pressures that, if I want to make some extra money, if I want to be an entrepreneur, it will all be just like extra gravy, sprinkles, cotton candy, a little bit extra for my life to make my life a little bit more comfortable and not have to have that worry and that stress, right? I don't have a problem going back to work if I have to go back to work, but if I have to go back to work, I have to understand it's going to be something that I love. And so, if that's the case, I'm going back to hospitality, which means going back to waitressing, and I'm physically fit enough to do some running around and go back to hospitality or management again in restaurants. Um, but at the same time, I was thinking maybe I could go back and work in the legions. I don't know. In the States, do you guys have legions in the States? Here, the legions are bars for retired military or people who are still in the military, but it's just kind of it's just run for veterans, right? Is that what you say? Veterans. And we call them legions, and they're numbered, and they're all over Canada, right? And they were actually not doing well. They were thinking about dispersing them and stuff because it was just like um, something that just wasn't cool anymore, right? That the veterans were, right, passing away and stuff. But they brought VLTs and they opened it up to family and wives and children and stuff. And now the public goes to the legions now. But right, for the most part, it was for the military, just a place for them to hang out and play pool. But now they've got the VLTs, the video lottery terminals in there. I haven't been to a bar, oh my goodness, in years and years now, right? And I say that with a smile because I'm kind of proud of myself that I've got no. Oh no, I didn't. I went to the bar earlier this year because I went for a walk. And when I went for a walk, I walked past the bar I used to work at and I saw my sister's car there. So I knew that they were gambling. So I went in there and I hung out with them because I didn't see my sisters for a while and I knew they would be together. So I kind of hung out with them for a little bit. And yeah, so that was once that I did that. And I just sat there and talked to them while they played and stuff. And I had no interest in gambling myself, right? And I was actually kind of proud of myself that I wasn't interested in gambling, because if I could sit there and not have an interest or an inkling to do that, I really know that I've done pretty good with myself concerning, something that I used to do every single day, right? It did such damage to my life. I wish I could have those years back and not play those machines. What kind of life would I have created for myself? I wonder if I would have even still been married, right? Or if I would have had my own house, because it's right. One of the big reasons why I didn't get to have a house is because I just couldn't save. But I think, if I couldn't dump my money into a VLT, I would have dumped that money somewhere else, right? Pink ice donuts with the sprinkles, and I might have been a big, big, big girl still, right? Okay. Uh Oh, thank you, Tammy. I appreciate the prayers there. I'm so privileged, I'm not a big prayer myself. I do have conversations with myself, and it does help out lots. I've actually even been thinking I have to do a Google Diary video real soon. I haven't done one in so long. I think it's very helpful, because I think in this age of AI learning, that with the technology, that right, having your voice out there, it's important, especially if you have an insight or a knowing. And lots of people, they don't want to go in front of the public and voice what they know or how they feel, something that might help somebody down the line. But if you're talking just to Google, right, the only one that would have that information would be Google, right? And, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, when we're all long gone, that little tidbit of information, valuable possibly information, would be able to be surfaced, right? Would be able to be dug up somewheres and maybe shared out there. Maybe in that cloning, right? That Cindy comes back, and right, maybe Cindy ain't gonna be flesh and blood, but maybe some kind of clone somehow, right? That that Cindy personality is still there. Those insights of mine are still there. So it would almost be like a real me rather than a perspective of me, of something that I wrote or somebody who remembered me down the road, that they actually have my own voice and my own thoughts and understandings and little bit of tidbits that might be valuable for somebody. But because I didn't share it for whatever reason, right? There's lots of reasons why we don't share things. Sometimes it's because we don't have that belief in ourselves that it's valuable, or sometimes it's protecting somebody else or protecting ourselves, right? Or sometimes we just don't believe at all, right? And but if you express it just in a video and rehash it, you can just be rehashing things, and then you might not believe in it, but because you're letting it surface, then maybe somewheres along the line, right? That it'd be like archaeology. It'd be like archaeology in the digital age, the age of AI learning, right? We don't know what's coming in the future, right? This could be old stuff. This could be like the beta machine stuff, the 8 tracks. How many of us here know what the 8 track is? I remember the 8 tracks. Okay, let's come into some of these comments here. Um, oh, you do have legions. Oh, good stuff. That's good to know. Uh, Andrew says he lives in a studio apartment, but it's too much in it. Mostly books. We can have complicated relationships with possessions. That's true, Andrew, right? Memories, your parents' things that you've decided to take on. I had a few things. I think I'm only down to two things that belong to my dad. One is a compass that belonged to my dad, and the other one is my plaque. Oopsie. Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans. My dad had this behind his lazy or on the wall beside his lazy boy chair, and it was something really important to him. He really believed in this. Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans, which is 100% true. So when he passed away, I took it. I'm just looking at the back here. I used to do this all the time. I don't know what it is, right? I've taped it here and it's my thoughts. Something in the moment that I thought was important. I can't even it's all taped there, so read I can't even read what's there. But yeah, maybe one day I'll peel it off and read it to you guys. I don't think now's the moment because I'm not really quite sure what I wrote in it, right? I think it was something important only because I wouldn't have taped it to something that was important. But this is only one of two things that I have of my father's, right? This plaque that I took of his and his compass. His compass, which is in imperial measurement. Oh my goodness. I haven't even had a sip of my coffee and I can just see it's got coffee scum all over it. Oh my goodness. I bet you it's cold. Okay. It's kind of lukewarm. It works. But yeah, we do have relationships with our possessions. Like I said, with these two pictures here, I love them, right? If they were scored, they're worth a little bit of money, right? Not a lot, right? Between $500 and $1,500, but considering I only paid $12 for both of them, oh, probably a little staff discount. So I paid under $10 for them. They are scored, but I didn't buy them because they were worth anything. I didn't actually even think they were worth anything when I bought them. You could see they have white frames on them, but if you look at my Buddha, I'm using my screen here. My Buddha here, this picture here, look at this color right here. That was the color of the frames because they're from the 40s, these two pictures, and whoever had them, right, just had them on the wall and they were probably chain smokers because it took me 2 hours to clean one frame. It only took me an hour to clean the other frame. 3 hours it took me to clean those frames. Now those pictures are 2.5 feet by 3.5 feet. They're pretty big pictures. One's vertical, one's horizontal, but they're really much larger than what they look like. But that's only because I'm further away from this wall, so they don't look as large, but they actually are very large pictures. But they were covered in cigarette smoke. So I didn't buy them because I thought they were worth anything. I actually didn't think they were worth much, but I loved them, right? One is from Northwest, so I'm figuring somewheres in Oregon or Washington in the States or possibly British Columbia. The one up top is a scene from Yellowstone Park. The artist's name is Bearstadt. He actually traveled with Lewis and Clark and he was an adventurer. So that connection with the adventure, I love the scenery. You know, I love trees, right? I love trees. I love Mother Nature. So it they just caught my heart, and I looked at them, and they were sitting up for sale for, oh, almost a week. But I would work and I would just stare at them. The moment they came in, I would just stare at them, and they were only going to cost me $10. But I didn't know what I was going to do with them. And then when somebody else took an interest, I went, oh my goodness, if he doesn't buy them, I got to get those things down. I got to buy them, right? As soon as he says, they're big, they're dirty, and I grabbed them right away. And I spent a lot of time cleaning them up, and they're they're one of my favorite possessions right now, to be honest. They are one of my favorite possessions. There are a few things that I absolutely love that I have relationships with, but I think we all have those things in our lives, right? Some more than others. As you can tell, I'm pretty eclectic, but that wall is looking so much better. I sold a lot of my carvings, a lot of my woodwork. I had some really famous wood carvers, and and I sold the pieces, and I was really happy. And I'm just slowly just selling the stuff, because if I do hit the road, if I do decide that in my retirement I'm going to do the RV life, that I'm just going to go full time on the road and get my Starlink, and then wouldn't that be amazing, that you guys, that I could do my live shows on Sunday night, no matter where I am in North America, because I have Starlink attached to my RV. That would be amazing. That would be, I think, be amazing for all of us. And then you guys could come live with me, right? In every single provincial park that I go to now. I can't strap the Starlink to my backpack and take it with me. I'm sure I could do something with that, but it would probably take a lot of power to do that. But yeah, to be able to, right, do my live shows from my campsite, that would be absolutely incredible, right? If there's some way that I can manage to get that done, oh my goodness, I'm going to do that done, get that done. I actually was thinking about that today, that it would actually only cost me $1,500 a month, right? That would be the same amount as renting an apartment, wouldn't it? Right? And also, being a senior, you get senior pricing, so it might even be like $1,000 a month. The only thing is, you can only stay in the same campsite for 21 days, right? I don't know if it's the same in the States, but all you would have to do if you want to stay in the same park is just go to a different campsite, just switch the campsite, just, right, go to the one next to it. And I would be able to have the most magnificent retirement, I think, ever, right? I would just absolutely love to do something like that. Now let me grab my mouse that I dropped on the ground here. Okay, let's come into the comments. Oh my goodness, I almost did the same thing as I did last week. I've been going over. I try to end the lives at 9 o'clock. Sometimes I don't keep my attention on the clock, and we go over a little bit. And I apologize to you guys, because I know in a big part of this North America, that the time changes, like Andrew was talking about. Like, there's a 2 hour difference between here and Toronto. I don't know what the time difference, if Kathy's still here, if Kathy could let me know what the time difference is on the East Coast, but I would assume it's the same place as where Owen is. Here in Winnipeg right now, we're 4 minutes to 9 at night. I'm thinking maybe a 3 hour difference in New York, that it's actually, right, almost 11 o'clock at night in New York. That would be, I would feel bad if I went too much over 9 o'clock, because I appreciate that you guys come every single week and hang out with me. But yeah, I don't expect it. So Andrew says, I'm interested in minimalism, but not to the extreme kind where there's about nothing at all. Still, I like things pared down and uncluttered. Uh, um, Not there, but working on it. Yeah, like I said, I'm working on it too. I know it doesn't look like it, but I have been doing pretty good with the donations, and I've been doing really good with selling things of mine. I got a lot of my stuff is listed right now, and even if it's I'm going to enjoy it until it finds a new home, right? My big fish I sold last week, and I've had that fish for, oh my goodness, for over 20 years. I had that fish sitting on that mantle of my fireplace. And it's a portable fireplace. It's not actually on my wall. I can wheel it wherever I want to. But but yeah, I had my fish on my mantle for all those years, and I sent it on its way, and I haven't given it a thought since. The only reason I'm mentioning it is because I said, "Oh, I'm clearing out a little bit," and then I kind of thought, "What was the last thing of mine that I sold?" It was actually the fish was the last thing that I sold. Yeah, I'm not afraid to part with my things, not in the least. When it's time for it to go, if somebody offered me $1,000, my bear stat pictures could go on their way, and I would feel glad that they went to somebody who actually would appreciate them. And in the end, right, I just might take them with me. Right? It's not like I'm going to give up absolutely everything, but who's to say, right? When I have to make that decision in that moment, I'll make that decision in that moment. Um, uh, Earl's 3,600 square feet? That's your house, Earl? 3,600? Wow. Do you have land too, Earl? Do you have 3,600? What do you do with all that space? Oh, talk about scary. I wouldn't want to have that much space. Oh, no way. Yeah, get lost in that. For sure. 36. I couldn't even imagine what your house would look like at 3,600 square feet. That's crazy. Um, Earl says, I've got things that I've even forgotten I even have. Oh my goodness. I'd love, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, I'd love to come to your house and snoop through all your things and sell them. Yeah, I'll be making listings on all of Earl's belongings, and he wouldn't even notice that they were gone because he's forgotten that he's even got them. That's funny. Andrew says, oh yeah, I got to that one already. Um, 4 cars and 2 motorcycles. Are you kidding me? Uh, my husband was in the military, and when he got out of the military, he took his pension and he bought himself a motorcycle, a Triumph, right? A motor. Right. He had post traumatic stress disorder. He wanted to belong to the Hell's Angels. He wanted to be a real motorcycle person, and he bought himself a motorcycle, and he bought it off a friend, and he got burned on it. It had a cracked gas tank on this motorcycle. So they tore it all apart, and it was in like 6 different milk crates plus the big frame of this motorcycle. And they took it to the shop in Edmonton, and it happened that the gentleman who owned the shop passed away, and me and my husband had just split, and I didn't know where he is. I just kind of said, go away, go, right? And he went and stayed with a friend, but I didn't know where he was. And they phoned the house and said, well, if he doesn't come and get his bike, it's going to go into probate or something like that, where he would have to possibly wait a year before he got his motorcycle back. So, being the good ex wife that I was, a friend of mine gave me a trailer, and I went and got the bike and we strapped it to the trailer, strapped all the milk crates to the trailer. And I was driving like 100 kilometers an hour down the highway to get home. I was just going to throw his bike parts into the garage. And what happened? The frame got loose, came off the trailer, but it took all the milk crates with it too. And I was on the highway. I picked up as much of the pieces as I could find, threw them in the milk crates, got home. I was bawling my eyes out because it was so much work, and threw everything in the garage. And I just, whatever, right? If I hadn't done it, he wouldn't have gotten it at all. So he was lucky to get whatever and he never did anything with that bike. And that was, oh my goodness, I think he paid like $60,000 or something for that motorcycle, right? And that was the thing. Like, you didn't even talk to me about what to use that money. I probably would have let him do it anyway, but he didn't even discuss it with me. And so yeah, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the end. But it's a funny story from when Earl there was talking about his motorcycles. I just thought of what I did with my husband. Being the good ex-wife, I just thought I would save his motorcycle. In the end, I probably lost half of it. I don't think I put much effort into looking for the parts along the highway, especially with all the cars going on and stuff. I just had to pull over and do the very best that I could. Okay. The military veterans love the Legion halls and views, etc., that they can go to socialize and hang out with the friends and eat there and play games. Oh, that's good to know, Tammy, right? And again, the military is, right? They're always retiring. And I think, that I think it was a good thing when they opened up, not just for the veterans of the First and Second World War, that they were able to extend it. And veterans are veterans, right? Okay, we're going to come down here real quick and then we're going to call it a night because I can see we're over. Cindy can say, walk with me, Cindy Dean, to Earl's house, to his big house. Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it? That would be fun to clean somebody's house out like that, especially, if Earl doesn't even know what he's got. That's funny. Earl, I know you keep busy with your house and cars and motorcycles. There's probably a lot of money in these things I have, but I don't need the money. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, it's nice to have somebody that's well to do hanging out with me, right? That's amazing. Oh, you guys, let's call it a night. That was a good one. Kept it light. I was in the heavy, like I said, the things that came across my path today, and I don't go and search out the information as to what's going on, but it's nice. If it's important, it's going to come across my path. And because I did come in with that already on mind, it was nice just to keep it light tonight. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Earl, Kathy, Owen, Andrew, Tammy. Who else came in tonight that I missed? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. I so appreciate everybody so much. You guys, have a great night. We'll see you next Sunday. And I'm going to assume that I'm going to see Tammy tomorrow, tomorrow night, or at the very least, we'll see her in my videos. And she's been taking them in, you guys. Oh my goodness. She was in some really, really old live shows today, or was it last night? And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. I don't even go into those old ones. Okay, you guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next week. Bye. Come on, we can do this. There we go.